Hello and welcome to the Let's Face It podcast. Today we are joined by my friend and esteemed Irish League soccer player, Antrim GAA footballer, St John's man and all around good guy, Matthew Fitzpatrick. Before we get stuck in, we have recently just launched our Patreon this week. So if you want to sign up to an extra episode per week, there's going to be online seminars, there's going to be different bits and pieces of workshops and information tools and things like that. So we're trying to create a community. We're going to have like monthly meetups and stuff, maybe go up and climb the moors or jump in the sea or do different wee things around outdoors and nature to try and build a community and trying to bring us all together. So if you want to go to, I'll drop the link below, www.patreon.com/support Let's Face It community, support Let's Face It community. I'll get Sean to throw in the link. And yeah, thanks very much for all the support. But we'll go with Fitzy today. What's a crack?
All right, well, mate, all good.
You keeping alright?
Keeping alright. Hannah, thanks to Hannah. So she had obviously had the baby 4 weeks ago. I'm like her assistant. She does all the work at night and during the day. I just clean the odd bum. What
about night feeds and all this?
I was going to act the martyr and say, I'm tired, but Hannah does all the night feeds. She's feeding them herself, so it's magic. She's been brilliant. It'll be lost without her, like.
Yeah.
And it means I've no excuses too when it comes to sport.
True. And I think even like obviously we have known each other since we were kids and growing up, and it's a big moment for you, like, in terms of a bit of responsibility. And you know, you bought a house there last year and you just had a baby. You know, you're starting to grow up a bit. Like.
Aye. Well, Hannah would tell you I'm absolutely not. Most people who know me would say I haven't, like, but no. In terms of life, it's completely changed in the last 3-4 weeks. It's been amazing. But there was a realization moment. We were in the hospital about 2 days after he was born. Hannah was sleeping, and he started to cry. And Hannah didn't wake up, and I was looking at him going, I have to deal with this. I have to lift him. But from then, you just take it. It's like anything, you have to. There's nothing you have no choice. You just have to deal with it. Been a few bomb scares along the way, changing nappies and stuff, but no, I'm loving it. It's different sort of stage of life. It's given me perspective on loads of stuff already. And feels like he's always been here, really.
Yeah.
Class. And
like, even for those who don't know you, I have a lot of listeners who maybe even aren't in the sport that much, but and obviously a lot of people will know you, but to put in the context, like your journey, and I think whenever we grow up, I don't really realise how much potential the person in the changing room has in terms of, okay, their sporting ability, but also like in your work life and all too, and what you've done, and even the way you carry yourself, and you just don't notice them things when we're kids growing up, and whatever sort of envisaged me and you sitting here now doing a podcast together. So I think it's class in a way, and it's great to see you grow. But like, obviously growing up, you played soccer and Gaelic, and there was always that sort of mix between both, obviously. And again, I'm not going to blow smoke up your arse, but I think it's fair to acknowledge that you are probably one of the most talented individuals within Antrim. I'm talking about GAA, and obviously it's been proven now since you made the jump to the Irish League in soccer. So you're a very, very talented individual. But like, even for you growing up, I can actually remember our under 14. Was an under 16 county final, I think, or was it minor? I can't remember.
Get on.
Me and you were sitting on the bench.
Minor. First year minor.
Yeah, so first year. So I would have been under 16. You would have been first year minor.
16 maybe.
Yeah, and we're playing in a county final in Casement, and me and you're sitting on the bench. But the remarkable thing is, exactly a year later, me and you're playing our senior championship debuts against the Gulls. Now we got a bit out gate, but it shows you that sort of, whenever you're minor, and you're not the best player, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not going to be the best senior player. But was talent always were you always talented, or clearly, you know, obviously not, because we were sitting on the bench that night.
But I know you're being flattered. I think you were basically trying to say when I was younger I wasn't that good, and then but I got to be a bit better. But I agree. Like, when we were under 14, under 16 stuff, I was average is probably like being kind. You know what I mean? I played, no disrespect to cornerbacks, but I played cornerback and I played half back. And if I got the ball, I passed it to someone who I thought was better than me.
Yeah.
I didn't take any responsibility on it, didn't show any leadership, anything like that would make you a better player. One thing for me was, I think my benefit was I went to Salle, obviously, like you did. All our mates and all from St John's, Clever St Mary's, they were better than us, much better team. But at Salle, I was able to be one of the better players because we weren't as good. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that gave me what belief. It made me into to try and be a bit of a leader because I was one of the better players, and then I grew as a player because simple stuff. I got on the ball more. There was more responsibility. And funny how things work out. When I was younger, like when I think of being 14, 16, I would have loved to have, like it would have been my dream to say I'll play for Antrim and play in the Irish League. Never in a million years did I think it was going to happen. I was floating between both, to tell you the truth, because I wasn't very good at one. If I had been very good at one, I wouldn't have bothered playing the other. It was sort of like an out for me. So see when I wasn't getting on, it was an excuse. See when I wasn't getting on for Gaelic,
right?
I was a footballer. Do you know what I mean? And when I wasn't getting on for football, I was like, sure, I play Gaelic. Do you know what I mean? That was my outball, and I was bluffing. But at that age, you don't know.
Yeah.
And there was nothing that clicked, and there wasn't a moment where it all changed. And it is weird because you see kids now, and I look at my nieces and nephews. Some of them are very good, some of them are alright, and I look at myself and I'm like, I was bang average at 16, but there's coaches and there's people who still believe in you, and if they only focused on the top players, then you would never get people becoming late bloomers coming through. And I have like Big Aidan Kelly, you obviously know him well. Me and him got on really well at St John's, and I remember Groyd. I was terrified of Groyd. When
Same.
I was 16, 17.
Still am.
I terrified of him. And he was obviously our senior manager, and he wanted me to come play senior, and I couldn't have thought anything worse. Because it's like anything. It's like moving team. It's a step up.
We're on that in a minute.
You just don't want to know. You just don't want to. It's not what you want.
Yeah.
You just don't want to do it because I wouldn't have been one of the better players.
Yep.
I was nervous, and Eni came and picked me up from my house basically because I was like, I'm not going to train, no chance. And Eni came and picked me up from my house, brought me down the train, and if he hadn't have, I would probably have never started playing senior. And a year later, like you said, I was playing the senior final, and then sort of kicked on from there and gained confidence every year and improved, thankfully.
Do you think, and this is something that I'm very, very passionate about, as in our roots in Salle, kind of hard to put it this way without sounding like I don't like St Mary's or I don't like the way they do things, but the ethos within Salle, and that we like, I don't have one Ulster College's medal, whereas some of my mates who went to St Mary's have won everything, and like I'm just thinking, say Connor Johnson for example, now we're both probably at the same, we're playing with county hurlers, and so it didn't, in the grand scheme of things, does it really matter? No, but I think it's important that I think we built that sort of an element of resilience, or an element of a different outlook of sport, with being surrounded by the likes of Kieran McGordy and Marty Ray and Alistair McGilligan and these boys who, and Buki, I can't forget about Buki, who implemented a more of a togetherness rather than like win at all costs and all this sort of crack. How much did LaSalle sort of impact your life?
Massively, and for like Stevie Kildare, who was he was P teacher, and he took the football teams. Like he was my favorite teacher in the world. Do you know what I mean? When I was a kid, and as being a teacher now, I know how impressionable kids are because I was that child, and wanted to do so well for him. Didn't care that we weren't the best team. Thought it was brilliant that like you said, there's a bit of community there, and all the rest of the boys like you mentioned, Kieran, Marty, and Buki, and Brandy, and Ali, couldn't have done more for us, growing up, and especially extracurricular sport. And I think, like you said, I won a Belfast Cup in school when I played with 6 years, but we didn't win much. But my memories of school are unbelievable, and I have no doubt, Gaelic and soccer, I would never have been the player I am, that I was if I'd have went to St Mary's. If I'd have said transfer to St Mary's in third year, I'd have went and still played cornerback, still been an average bit per player, made a one X, Y, and Z, but doesn't matter.
No,
absolutely not. So I'm really thankful to the Emmons, and I always will be, and I always I still think of them now.
So do I.
10 years later when I do stuff, and that's because they left an impression on me.
So do I.
And I obviously you did too, but I had the pleasure of working there for 2 or 3 years. Loved it. And they helped me in my professional career too. They helped me go on be a PE teacher. There's no doubt I wanted to be a PE teacher because I like my PE teachers. Like it's not a coincidence. So looking back, it's one of the best things that could have happened to me going to Salle. And I remember I was doing my 11 plus, and I wanted to go to Salle because they had a first year football team. It's so fickle, like, when you look back. And I thank my mum and daddy for not being pushy.
Yes.
Because I got a B2, so I think I'd have got in the series. But from the outset, I was like, I'm going to Salle because I want to play. I obviously thought I was going to be a professional footballer or something. I want to play in football in first year, and it paved my life nearly from there.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. And I think the big thing that we're talking about is not the ability, it's and not just a person who goes to school and studies whatever. It's the actual person, the development of you, the way you carry yourselves, your communication, the way we accept losing. Because I think with every failure is a process of learning and becoming a better version of yourself. And we took some tankings in the Salle, and even, like, to be honest, like, Jesus, we used to go sometimes to the hurling matches, like, and obviously playing at a good level with the county and stuff like that, and then you're going, but I think it helped me so much in terms of, like, just being able to be a wee bit resilient, and it probably helped me in my darkest of days, going to rehab and stuff, like things that the teachers in the Salle, and I would love to maybe even tell them how much, you know, or maybe do more, and there's maybe a wee bit of element of guilt, but I suppose that's just life, that you do move on and you don't keep in touch and stuff like that. But I would always see what you're saying there about, like, Marty Ray, like, would have had a massive impact in my life, even like the way he thinks in his thought process. And people think he's very blunt, but we had a love-hate relationship in school, but it's now I look back, and even my certain patterns of behaviour throughout school, due to, like, things that we have spoke about before, like getting in trouble because I wanted any attention was good attention and stuff like that. And it's like different things that he taught me then, I'm probably only applying to my life now, which is good. Do you know what I mean? So it's tools for life nearly, and it's no, it's a wonderful place, and I think that's worth noting how much of an impact sort of LaSalle and people within the LaSalle community have had on us. But I never forget the day that I think I was 5th year maybe, and I was down into the technology department, and I'm sitting doing my coursework, and you were first year in St Mary's University, and you come in, you probably not remember this, and you were like, I'm fucking done, it's doing my head in, this course is doing my head in, I just want to leave, and I was like, Jesus. But a year later, you actually won a Sigerson because you stuck it out or whatever. You had a good chat with Ralph Gaddy, went in and closed the door. But just some wee things that you remember, and I'll never forget that because of where you were, and then it was just like boom, your life sort of like took off again because you just sort of stepped into the fear, whatever it was. But like even that transition from school life where you're so well got and everything's good, something that I struggle with a lot going into university. How did you even find that sort of transition?
I loved the social side of it in St Mary's, but it was probably for me. I was probably a wee bit not spoiled. I don't know if spoiled's the right word. Like my mum and daddy looked after me so well. I probably was spoiled. Do you know what I mean? And I probably was getting into St Mary's and not having it the way I wanted it. And that was probably a degree of like, I'm going to do something else because I wasn't enjoying it. But that's why I think it's so important, like, to have people to keep you in check. Like, I'm all for people being positive, and I love the positivity of people, and I can't stand negative people. But you do need sometimes you do need a reality check to be like, listen, you need to either relax or you need to raise up, or rein it in. It's like, stop being so touchy about stuff. And see it out. And like you said, if I had a jacket in first year, which loads of people do, and then even loads of people do it for the right reasons. You know what I mean? Loads of people will leave in first year and go and do a different career, have a different career, and that was the right decision. I knew I wanted to be a PE teacher, so it would never have made sense for me to leave. And I remember wanting to leave and go to Jordanstown for some reason, to do I think it was because I'd done the liberal arts in St Mary's, and only about 60% of it was PE, and the other 40% was
Father McGuinness.
Nonsense. Nonsense. And I hated that, and I probably wasn't good at it, and it was a wee bit of insecurity going, I mightn't pass it. But I think you only learn stuff like that when you grow up. Like,
yes,
I'm looking back now, I'm 28, I'm a teacher myself, at stuff where I like shied away from it because I wasn't good at it, and I'm a wee bit scundered. And then when I do be a bit scundered about it, I'm like, actually, you know what? I was young. It's normal. I wouldn't do it now, but I'm 28 now and I've been through loads of stuff. I've learned loads of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think I love St Mary's, and when the Sigerson was like the icing on the cake, and I met some amazing people. And again, I probably wouldn't have went if it hadn't been for the boys in the Salle, who like Killer went there, Buki went there, Ramsey went there. Ramsey was sort of in between. I think he had a career break teaching there the year before I went. So all that appealed to me. And again, like you said, I've never ever thanked one of them for saying like I know, but they probably did have a massive burn on that. But what if it wasn't for them? I probably wouldn't have bothered going. I probably wouldn't have won a season. I wouldn't have improved the Gaelic, because I went to St Mary's where it was smaller setting, less players, and I played in a team with loads of good players, and that made me realise I must be alright because I'm playing with Emmons. Where if I went to Jordanstown, I wouldn't have got a kick.
There's no even the sense of community and stuff
wouldn't have got a kick, and it wouldn't, like, so many assets in my life wouldn't have improved. Like,
and even like you mentioned that St Mary's, and then when the Sigerson, and then you actually didn't you get on the Sigerson the All Star team? And even again for people who don't aren't that much into the GAA, to put that in context, it's like the best 15 footballers in Ireland in colleges. So like it's an unbelievable achievement, and I know it's something that you don't really. I'm not saying you don't care. We'll talk about your sort of carefree attitude in a bit, but and that it's not a curve, but you know what I mean. It's sort of happy-go-lucky, sort of, and I think that what an unbelievable achievement. And then obviously you're playing for Antrim footballers too. I actually remember a night, I think it was in the athletic grounds against Tyrone, maybe in the Ulster Championship, where Antrim get beat out the gate, but it was actually live on BBC, and you were amazing. You were incredible. You were probably one of the best players on the pitch that day. What's your relationship like with Gaelic?
Do you know what? I don't know where it's because the older I get or the more I play football, but I don't love it anywhere near as much as I used to. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, I don't mean I don't like it, but it used to be my life. Like,
so to be on end all.
Aye.
Right. And this is something that I want to get into, because it's like, so if we go play a match on a Sunday, would your life have been impacted if you got beat from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday after?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And that's why I didn't like the individual success. I didn't really didn't register with me. It's nice, and people who say they don't care about individual awards are liars. Yeah. Because
we all have egos.
Exactly. And it's a nice feeling, and I get it too. But if we weren't winning, like when the All Star was the Sigerson, I loved it because we won and everything came together. It was perfect. But when we weren't winning, I couldn't take it. And not that I couldn't take it, but I just couldn't accept it, and I found it so hard. But it's a game, like I always used to talk about this when we had 20 players, say 15, and then 5 subs. You're one person. Like you shouldn't beat yourself up that much about not winning, because I see unbelievable players in unbelievable teams, and I see it in every sport, in basketball, in Gaelic, and football. Harry Kane's the one I always feel sorry for. Plays for Spurs, hasn't won anything, but a world class player, like broken all sorts of records, and people give him stick about not winning anything. Yeah. And I'm like, so if he was to leave Spurs and go and play for Man City, you'd win everything. Yeah. Does that make him a better player? No, I don't think so. Yeah. Does it make him a winner? I don't know. I don't think so. I have a problem with that term, if you know what I mean. Yeah. Because he hasn't actually won a trophy. Yeah. So it grinds my gears a wee bit.
What define a winner?
For me, it's like someone who a winner is like a leader who is in like the hardest moments, is there for a team, is their best player, is their go-to player, is someone you want in your team all the time. Yeah. And I think
so. It's not based on miles; it's based on their example.
I think so. So see someone who is number 28 on a Gaelic team and has won 12 championships. Are they a winner? Are they more of a winner than someone who's the best player for a team that hasn't won a championship?
Well, if you're talking about example, like that person could not be the best on the pitch, but everything he does outside maybe. Yeah. Do you know? So
no, I agree. But I'm asking you. Do you think he's more like? I don't think he's more of a winner than.
No, that's aye. So we'll agree on that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
and it grinds me gears a wee bit, that. But in terms of talking about Gaelic, Gaelic blows my mind, and I know why. It's because I'm coming from a soccer or football, whatever you want to call it, perspective now. Like, the amount of work you do county level, even club level, I see our boys doing. I think the work, like, fun's the wrong word, because fun sounds like you're a child playing with your mates, but enjoyment, the amount of work to enjoyment ratio, I think, is absolutely awful.
So, and this is something that I had to sort out in my personal life there in the last couple of weeks. So you're talking about an exchange of energy.
Aye.
So the amount of energy that you're putting into Gaelic versus the energy you're getting out of it is not on a balance. So what happens whenever you're putting so much energy into one thing and not getting the rewards out of the back of it?
There's a deficit, surely.
Absolutely. Yeah. So then what does that lead to? Burning the candles at both ends, burnout, then or not enjoying it and being overtired, and then all of a sudden you're going to training but you're not actually training, you just want to get out, and you're so how then do you find that balance, or what is the solution to that? Because the solution to my problem, which was in my like work life, because I was working there like 70 hours a week between the rehab centre and then Let's Face It, and I was like the exchange of energy, as in the time I'm putting in, what I'm getting out of it, even financially, it just wasn't all adding up. So I was aware of it, and then I had to make that change, because there's one thing being aware
and doing something about it,
but doing something about it's a different story. But you have kind of done something about that, because you've recognised that, I'm not putting words in your mouth here, you've recognised that maybe county football was fucking draining the life out of you.
And I don't even think...
Would that be a fair reflection?
I will see, like, burnout with me, I think burnout's a mental thing. Do you know what I mean? I look at, for example, runners, and they run millions of miles a year. Not millions, that's obviously over exaggeration, but you know what I mean.
Well, Marty Ray does.
He has millions of steps. But so I don't buy into the physical burnout as much. If you look after yourself, but the mental burnout is definitely a thing. And when I look at how much Gaelic, like how much county teams are training, and it's not enjoyable. Like, you cannot tell me them boys, you boys enjoy travelling that much, training that much, putting so much in, and playing, if you're lucky, I'm thinking of football, 10, 12 matches a year. Like, it blows my mind now. I play a match, sometimes 2 matches a week, 3. We play Saturday, Tuesday, some weeks Saturday every week. And like, it's so enjoyable. The balance, we train to be ready for the matches. It feels like in Gaelic, like the training's more important than the matches. Like, see the amount of times I hear son such did this amount in training or did it, I'm like, but so
and what?
And it blows my mind. Even like drink bans and stuff. Like, I see Premier League footballers playing on a Sunday, and they'll be drinking on a Sunday night, and then going on and being brilliant again the next Saturday. And if you were to drink a night like the week before a championship match in Gaelic, you're like public enemy number 1.
Where's that? Where does this all? Where does that stem from?
I don't know. I actually don't know, but it's getting too much. I think like managers. I think some managers, especially county level, just have too much of a pool, and they're like, right, we're doing this, this, and this, and no one ever
questions it.
Like, I think if you ask county players, would you rather train 3 times a week or 5? Do you think many of them would pick 5?
Well, but ask me. Do you know? Like,
I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, but you're fine. And I listen. I've shared some things in this podcast. Do you know, like, and I understand where you're coming from, right? And that's saying that might have been just because of the environment that you were involved in too.
But I know. But I did not like it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. The environment.
I was dead on. I was playing well, and it was probably a selfish point of view. I was playing well, and I was like, this is fine.
Yeah, but the time.
But then I had another perspective when I went and played football, and I was like, actually, that wasn't fine. And now, when I talk to Patrick Ray, one of my best mates, when I talk to him and he tells me what he's doing, I actually get the horrors a wee bit. And he'll go to me like, we're up in Jordanstown tonight, and then son, I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't think of anything worse. Yeah. And maybe that's because I'm 28 and I'm older and I have a child now, and I don't know. But it blows my mind, and that's where I think football or soccer has a much better balance to the enjoyment and the seriousness. Yeah. The Gaelic's like, I feel, and if you were to put it in a percentage, it's like 90% serious, 10% fun. Like, see if you mess about in Gaelic training, you are like, or not mess about, such a childish term. If you were to joke or be immature,
I know what you mean.
No, like, it's like you're not taking this seriously. Yeah. Same football. See when it's time to work. Yeah. It's time to work. See when it's not time to work. like you can have as much fun as you want.
Yeah.
And that's why if you compare footballers and Gaelic players, think of characters in the game. There's so much more characters in football who are you hear stories about who are funny.
Yeah.
I mean top level football. Like when I think of like stories about Paul Merson and Gaza and all these people, you hear it's brilliant crack and they have memories to last lifetime. I don't look back at many memories playing for Antrim where I was like, that was unbelievable crack.
Yeah.
And I just think the balance is all wrong, Gaelic, and because of that, I'm happy enough only playing for St John's. Do you know what I mean?
I find that so interesting because we touched on a couple of things there, and I think that the environment does have a lot to play in it, but I do understand with the time and stuff like that, and I kind of agree with you in a sense, the enjoyment side of it. Like I'll give you an example. Even last year, Fitzy, like with being involved with the county, and I had a relatively good sort of national league and coming into the championship.
And you're successful, right?
Do you know what I mean? And it was like I got pulled from 2 games to go and lose weight. Obviously, you know, my situation now, it's getting a bit better in terms of being consistent with my weight and stuff, but that's took a long time in terms of me building like self-image and stuff like that. But anyway, it's like, but I was driving up the road some nights after training or 2 training and pulling over and fucking crying my eyes out, like. And that's a thing, because I've shared that before, and there's been people messaging me like, Jesus, I can relate so much to what you're talking about there, because we're putting that much into it, and I had to go and figure out why I was doing it. So whenever we talk about our why, and it's something that obviously working with different people, what is your why? But it's even, why is that your why? Do you know what I mean? So my why, just say for an example, and I was at Queen's last night talking about this, and someone asked the question about how do you deal with people who expect so much from you, and these people could be people in your family, people, your friends, or whatever, your managers. But why are you doing it? So even if you're doing it for them, that person who loves you, who expects so much, so are you doing it to keep them as happy? Is that your why, to keep them as happy? But what about you? So I had to go figure all this stuff out, and I was like, so what? Why am I doing all this? What's the crack here? I could just be away enjoying life and being happy and doing my own thing. And it was like, right, figure out what is important, and at the end became that my why was our Eamon. Do you know what I mean? And the very fact that he can't do it, so I'm doing it for both of us, and it make it just, and then that's my driving force now. But I get what you mean, and maybe I'm not talented enough to make the step out of soccer and go into, or step out of hurling and go into soccer to get that different experience. But even for lads who are sort of struggling with that sort of commitment but want to do it, but they don't know why, maybe just diving into that, maybe a bit of a tip. Like,
I know, and to be honest, the commitment, like, it's more so. I just think like a county team, the commitment is mentally draining. Like I know most Irish League players, they'll go to training. Now some Irish League teams are full time, so they train 5 times a week, but they're not working, obviously. But they still live the life outside of training, and that's where I think with me, especially, I know for a fact with St John's sometimes, and even in football, people look at me and think I really don't care. You know, when something goes wrong or when I miss a chance, and it's not that I don't care, and it's not that I don't care enough. Like outside of training, I try and make the right choices every single day. Like I'll go to the gym a couple of times a week. I eat well 6 out of 7 days a week. I always want to be in a position to be my best on the pitch, and I make sacrifices for it, and I work really hard. But when something doesn't go right, or when we get beat, like, it's not that I don't care. I just don't let it affect me in the other area of my life, if that makes sense.
Because that's just one part of your life.
Aye.
You have to go home and you have a family.
It's not fair on everyone else.
Yeah.
And I always, not to be like cringy or anything, but I always try and live by like never being too high or too low. So when you do well, not bombing and blowing about it all the time, enjoy it because you worked hard for it. And but if you do that, and if you are trying to stay, I know humble is a key word these days, you know, but if you do well, like, don't gloat about it, don't boast about it, but take pride in it. But on the same foot, if you don't do well, don't be letting it, like, you're not a bad player overnight, or don't be letting it ruin your weekend, or because I've spent many weekends, like you said earlier, where St John's have got beat or Antrim have got beat or whatever, and I let it ruin my weekend, and I go home and I know Hannah's like, I have to listen to him or face him. Probably not listen to him because I don't speak. But and then it didn't make me any better the following week. You know what I mean? And in terms of people, they're gonna, like, I think, and I know for a fact it happens. They think I don't care as much as other people. But when I when I look at people who say in a match, say like when I miss a chance, I know I can be sort of expressionless, but I genuinely don't let it bother me, and I think it makes me a better player
for the next ball.
Aye, because if I was scoring every single chance, I'd be in the Premier League. I'm in the Irish League for a reason. Do you know what I mean? That's
so
my level.
Perspective.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, I see people miss a chance or with St John's or not play well, and they're cracking up and shouting, and I'm like, do you think that makes me think you care loads? Just because you're cracking up doesn't mean I think, oh, he took it really bad. He really loves St John's.
Yeah,
it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah,
people who are usually loud and cracking up are doing it for someone to see it.
Yeah, and have some sort of insecurities within themselves.
I'm like, I'm not buying that.
Yeah,
I know myself. I worked hard all week. I know myself. I don't need to show anger and all just to prove to you that I care. And it annoys me. Not annoys me a bit much, but I get it loads of times when people say to me, like, you look like you're not too fussed. I'm like, it's not that.
And we spoke about this. You know,
but people don't really say it to you. But I've heard people. I hear it to other people. No, people will hint at it. Your mates sometimes will say, try and give you a heads up. And I'm like, I don't like. I'm not changing the way I am because I think that helps me be a better player. Like for St John's, for example, I've missed millions of chances, right? But see if I never took those chances, I wouldn't score the next one.
Millions you scored.
I mean? Yeah. And I'm happy enough to have the pressure of that. If I miss, it may cost us because if I score, then
could win it.
Aye. Yeah. And you have to take a rough or smooth. You can't have your cake and eat it. If you're willing to be one of them players who doesn't. Well, I suppose it's harder for defenders because they're not in scoring positions.
Taking risks.
Aye. If you're not a risk taker, if you're a risk taker, you're going to have more stinkers than someone who's not a risk taker. But at the same time,
the big days are going to be big.
And I'm willing to accept that. Same with football. Like with football, I've missed loads of sitters, like loads. I actually missed one on Friday night. It was harder to miss. I was about 4 or 5 yards out. We played Lauren Friday night, and the ball someone hit it and it dropped, and I tried overhead kick it from 5 yards, probably being generous, right? The keeper was lying on the ground. This is how bad it was. The keeper was lying on the ground, and I overhead kicked it straight to his chair. He just picked it up. So the net was here. He's lying there, and I somehow kicked it over there, and he just lifted it. And I remember I was looking up at the sky, and I was just like, I cannot believe I missed that. But then I was like, sure. Like I said, if I scored every single chance I got, I wouldn't be in the Irish League. I'm not meant to score. Like every day is not going to be brilliant. I'm not going to be class every single day. If I'm class once, I'm doing well. So it's just you have to have that sort of perspective in sport and be like. And I think loads of people don't have that. Yeah. And then it makes them
probably
suffer.
Me for one.
And it makes you suffer because you'll come off a match and you'll be like, I didn't do such and such well, and you're like,
yeah. Or else if you do. I'm starting to work on it, but like you do 10 good things and one bad thing, you're focusing on the bad thing for the next week. Like
it's a terrible way to be in terms of like how much pressure you put on yourself. There's no need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whatsoever. And maybe I'm blessed with the people I have around me. Like Hannah's brilliant in terms of like she'll slag me and about stuff, and my mum and daddy are really supportive, always have been, but not too supportive. Like never overburn, never push me into anything. My dad has never even said to me, I think you should do this. He's always been like, you do it, and he's been willing to let me make mistakes. And I've made some shocking choices, and I've made some good ones, but the shockers have obviously it's helped me because I've done stuff, and even when I was younger, said stuff like you do. Maybe been arrogant or something in a match, and after I've been like, oh my god, I'm scundered. But that made me never do it again.
Well, there you are. And with every mistake or every setback, there's an opportunity to learn and grow. But I agree with a lot of what you're saying there. Everything, like, and even that not getting too highs with highs or too lows with lows. Like, and I would always sort of try and stay at that 6 because if you're out of 10 constantly, there's only one place you can go.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and it's just trying to find that balance. And I think I actually learned that off you to try and be at that sort of steady, because I always used to be up down and running about and fucking nets, or sort of trying to be like that. But you mentioned even a couple of things, even in terms of making mistakes. You can't fucking do everything right, and that applies in sport, yes, but it also applies in life. You know, setbacks, obstacles. You're a teacher now. You're seeing this firsthand every day. Something that I'm very passionate about. and very passionate about sort of. There's a fine line between, you know, creating an environment which I think is very important within schools where people can be open and transparent and honest and talk about maybe things that are going on at home, different problems that they have. But and I do value that a lot, and creating that trust. But and then on the other side of it, there's this thing in society with labels, and it's something that I sort of struggle with a lot. Even like I go into some businesses now and talking about like the that we aren't. There's more like the human side of business. Nearly, there's more to you than being a teacher. You're not Matthew Fitzpatrick, the teacher. You're Matthew Fitzpatrick, the daddy, or you play a bit of football, and you're a good human being. So it's looking at the humans. So like, and another example is that even for me, like every time I go into an AA room, it's like my name's Donald and I'm an alcoholic. So does that mean that that's what I am, and I can't be a county hurler, and I can't do this, and I can't do that? Am I labelled to just being that? Yeah. Does that limit me from being excited about who I want to become? Does that limit me from all the potential that I have? No.
I know.
We're talking about labels then in a school place where people are, with all these sort of things are being through about in terms of being diagnosed with X, Y, and Z, which is maybe having a limiting belief within some students, or maybe even parents thinking that their students can't do X, Y, and Z because they have X, Y, or Z. What does that make sense?
Yeah, no. It worries me as a teacher.
Right.
I went to the Salle, like in West Belfast working class school, all ability school. I work in an integrated school in North Belfast, but all ability. Yeah. In a working class area, and the label thing doesn't sit right with me sometimes, because I think kids are so impressionable, especially the younger they are. And if you label them with something, they'll run with that. Yes. And it might give them a ceiling. Whereas these kids, especially in working class areas, need the opposite. They need to be told that doesn't matter. No, you can do. One of the things in our school is having no excuses, and we have a very good principal,
Marie Thompson.
And she's good with stuff like that, and she's down to earth, and she knows the crack. But she knows there should be no ceiling for these kids, and there should be no excuses. So if you do have X, Y, or Z, doesn't mean you can't or you shouldn't do something. And it actually worries me with kids too, because like I said, they're so impressionable. When someone tells them they have something or they are something, they're going to believe it, and it may put them off doing something. So they'll say, I can't do X, Y, or Z because I'm whatever, and that worries me. And it also worries me for kids who do have like serious issues, that they might be afraid to voice them because they're worried that it's like popular to have something. Do you know what I mean? Like they're put off.
There's almost like a commercialization to it.
But they're put off by it. Yeah. So they might be feeling, I'll just use anxiety as an example. And I know people my age that have it and they don't talk about it, and they are probably afraid to, because it feels like it's like a buzzword now. You know, like loads of people are mentioning it, and because loads of people are mentioning it who mightn't struggle with it as much, there's people who criticise people who have it, isn't there? Like you'll hear people go, someone will say I have anxiety, and you'll hear someone say like they're too busy doing X, Y, and Z, and then someone who actually might really suffer with it may go, well, I don't want people talking about me like that. So yes, there needs to be a raising of awareness around it, but you also have to be, I think, really careful when you're labelling people with it. And the thing that probably we don't do enough, especially in school and just in society in general, is talk. And this is what resilience is, I think. Tell people that it's all right to have certain feelings. Do you know what I mean? Like, see kids, see if they're anxious. It's all right to be anxious. Doesn't mean necessarily have anxiety. Now you might.
So that's a really, really good point. So that's a feeling.
Yes.
Right. So, and this is something that I was in a school and we were talking about it. So you feel anxious. Yeah. You're not anxious.
Yes, but
you feel depressed. You're not depressed. But you feel that feeling. But there is people who are depressed.
Yes.
And there is people who are anxious, and that's taken away from them people.
Yeah. And
is that your point?
Yes.
So I have this feeling, but it's just a feeling. What can you do about it?
Exactly.
You're not. This isn't you forever. It's just like it's like being happy. You're not going to be happy forever. Do you know what I mean? So
it's easy for us to say.
100%.
But see, at first year, if they say I feel anxious, and you go, you might have anxiety.
Yeah.
What are they going to think?
I have anxiety, so I have to be limiting beliefs.
And someone who's qualified told me I have it.
Yeah.
So, or not qualified, but do you know what I mean? Say a teacher says it.
Yeah.
Like my teacher told me.
Yeah.
And for first year, a teacher telling them something is like a golden seal of approval.
100%.
Must be true.
Automatically a program within their
Yeah.
heads.
So, and that worries me, and that's where I think kids are lacking. Kids, us too. Do you know what I mean? They lack resilience a bit, because I see them go through stuff like that, and straight away it's like an excuse. Do you know what I mean? That, and I see it. I'm my two sisters. They've had kids and they play for St Paul's.
Loads of kids. They have had loads of kids.
They play for St Paul's, and the oldest one's 12.
Yeah.
And he's a good player, and the youngest one's 4. Right, and I go and watch him, and I look at like the one who plays for St Paul's. The 12-year-old, their team's good, right?
Yeah.
And they got the county final, and a bit part of me, my sister will probably hate me for saying this, was like, I hope they get beat.
Yeah.
Because he would like they were winning all the time and everything was amazing, and then they did get beat in the final, and I was like, well, what did you learn? No, what did you learn? What could you have done better? And in the final they beat. I was at it, Moodlands, beat by St Galls, and that I forget what the under 12 one's called, Jack McCartan maybe or something, and for them it's a be all and end all. I mean, that's the All Ireland final, but they get beat, and he took it so well, right? Like he didn't, and nothing wrong with crying. Didn't cry his eyes out, didn't throw a strap, and I was so proud of him.
That's class.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That, I was like, he just took it. Like I was like, you make it use that because you play for St Paul's. Nothing against St Paul's. Same as St John's. So for me, play for St John's, play for Antrim, play football for Glenavon. You're going to lose loads.
Yeah.
See if you don't know how to deal with it, you're in for a long career.
Yeah.
Because, do you know what I mean?
100%. And the same applies in life.
Starts at that age.
Same applies in life.
Exactly.
So these setbacks, and it's like, and that's class. That see even having this conversation, it's amazing because you need to learn how to lose. Because what comes with setbacks? Like,
I know.
What way do you view it? Is it I'm not good enough, or is it an opportunity to grow or to get better? And here, I've only really, this has only came into my life in the last sort of couple of years, because obviously I ended up where I ended up due to maybe, I don't know if it's not being resilient. I don't know if that's a fair enough reflection.
It's a combination of things.
I don't know if it's a fair reflection on me to be honest, but there's an element of it. Maybe not being honest, probably a big thing. But I even think that no, I agree with you massively, and even like fear is something that I wanted to talk to you about, because fear often maybe kept me back, and it's nearly like that thing with anxiety or feeling depressed. It's a feeling too, and it's like why do we always need to fear or feel fear as a bad thing? What's your opinion around that? And sort of
fear is a hard one for me. Not that I've never experienced it, but when I stopped playing Gaelic, I was playing really well, and it would have been really easy for me just to be like, I'm just going to stay here because I'm comfortable here. Do you know what I mean? And then I got the chance to go and play football. I was playing for Belfast Celtic, and I only planned on playing for like 3 months.
I remember that.
Stevie McNaughton was manager, great legend, and like owe him so much because he started my football career. But I went and played for them in September when St John's competed at the championship, and I was like, right, I'll play till Christmas, and then go back to play for Antrim. Okay. And he was like, no problem. But then in November, I signed for Coleraine, and never envisaged that. But
how does all that come about?
I think I only played about 11 matches for Belfast Celtic, and I was obviously playing well. Yeah. And Arn, one of my mates, was at Coleraine, and a couple of teams were interested. They obviously heard I was playing well, and Mackers is obviously a well-known Irish League player, and so people were in contact with him saying, what's he like? And he was saying, he's good. I think he's good enough he could play in the league. And Arn was at Coleraine. The Coleraine manager asked about me, and because my mate was there, I was like, and I got obviously flattered with the interest. But see, so the first few days I was flattered with the interest. I was like, this is brilliant. See, when the realisation came that they actually want you, I was a bit like, oh, like, I'm gonna have to go. So like,
to do pretend I'm good here.
And I was like, I don't know if I can play at that level.
Yeah.
Like, because there was a few, Belfast Celtic is a few levels below.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I can play at that level. Like it, and the Irish League to me is like, and it still is. It's a semi-professional, borderline professional league. Some class players in it, and I'm looking at players who were playing in England and stuff, like Kyle Lafferty's at Linfield now, and Elm again. I'm going, there's no way I could play with them. And I have a big agent who plays Gaelic, who just started playing football a couple of weeks ago, and there was like a fear there. I was like, oh my god, I don't know if I should do it. And then on the other side, it was just like, how much would I regret this if I didn't do it? I'm like, if I go have a shocker, I can just go back and play for Antrim.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So, so perspective again.
Yeah, but then so it did go, and it wasn't. They were sacked. It was a terrible move on my part. Korean were sacking in the league. They're in the League Cup final, and they were one of the best teams in the league. Linfield were top. They were second, and I was like, going from Belfast Celtic, the team at the top. So not even the Irish league, but the team at the top. Was a massive jump, and
they had a good run in Europe and all, didn't they, before that?
And if I was a manager, I was only playing football for 3 months. I hadn't a clue what I was doing at the times I got the ball.
And you know what they all say,
I was winging it, and I wouldn't have played me either. And he did play me a bit, but then there was times where he was like playing more experienced players, which was the right decision.
Yeah.
But I was 25, and I was like, I can't hang about here, no being in and out. If I want to make a go at this, and in my head, then I was at a crossroads. I was like, if I go back and play for Antrim, people are going to be like, not people. It sounds like I'm saying it like I'm famous. No, people are going to talk about me. No, but I mean,
no, but you do.
I don't mean that. But I'm like, people will be like, that worked out well. And there is people like that. And there's I never forget. The same with Belfast Celtic put up. I was on the Korean, and I still know the fella's name. Someone wrote underneath it, "You'll be back for pre-season, right?" And I was like, that still resonates with me to this day. And
so what way would you look at that? Because there's people who I've spoke about before about social media and online abuse and different things. So you use that as ammunition, clearly.
Like I would love. He probably doesn't even remember it.
Love to see him now and be like,
yeah. But then again, why do
people? Could you see that in a different way and fall into that?
I know. Well, he actually owned one because this is my point.
Okay.
So I left. COVID hit. It was March. Korean were coming back to training in June, and they were in the Europa League and stuff. And I was like, the travelling was absolutely hectic. Aaron trainer showed me a biggest dud ever. He told me it took an hour to get there. Right, I wasn't getting home till 11 o'clock on Tuesday, like a Tuesday and Thursday night, and I was like, I could have went to Glenavon before I went to Korean, and I was like, I would play more Glenavon. So I said to Aaron, look, I hate the travelling. I'm not playing as much. Just want to leave. And he was so sound about it. He could have went, "Nah, you're in your contract, blah blah blah." So sound about it. Like, right, no problem. Went the same for Glenavon, and they're like, the rest is history. But part of me, I could have went back and played for Antrim. Do you know what I mean? At that moment. But that fella who wrote on Twitter, I still thought about him. I was like, nah, I'm giving this not just him, but I was like, I'm giving this another go. I want to do it. I want to play in the Irish League. I want to and I don't just play as in loads of people have played once or twice. That's not playing in the Irish League for me. I know people might say like playing in the Irish League is not a big achievement. You're not, no, but for me it was.
Yeah. And
I was like, no, I want to give it a proper go. And then my life's changed completely because football's like my life. No, football's like my life now, and I love it. And it's helped me loads. So, in terms of fear, I've been lucky in life. Like I said to you earlier, haven't experienced too many bad things, if I'm being honest. And I haven't been through too much. I can confidently say that. But stuff like that is the only time I've experienced like fear or worried about something. And the only thing that fueled me was the regret. That was that trumped it, the fear nearly. Because if I'm being honest, I don't really fear much in sport. You know, I fear loads of stuff in life.
Yeah, of course.
Don't get me wrong. But in sport, I don't know where it's just my mindset or the way I am. It just doesn't affect me in that way.
Yeah, and whereas on the flip side of that, it would have kept me back. Like,
I know,
which is amazing, isn't it?
And you see some people in sport. I see people do stuff wrong and their hair goes down straight away, and I'm like, but you can't. It's like someone telling you not to be nervous. You go like, don't be nervous. Yeah. You're like, cheers, mate. No, like, I'll not be nervous. I don't work like that.
Yeah, and this is, I suppose, why I brought that up, because I actually changed my whole perception of what fear means. So it's like, so now I would see fear as an opportunity. So it's like there's a book, Face the Fear and Do It Anyway.
No, I haven't read it. I've seen it, but no.
And it's nearly like, okay, what's on the other end of this fear? So obviously there's a lot of things happening in the last 4 years where I've had to make massive decisions in my life, with people, with sport, with commitments, with everything, and a lot of it was fear, Fitzy. Like, a lot of it was like, what the fuck? But I've seen what's on the other end of that fear, as in the opportunities, the people I've met, the jobs, the whatever, doing this, do you know, all these things and stepping out of your comfort zone, and it's been fucking amazing. And that's why I love whenever people say to me, like, even your approach, I love it, because you use that as ammunition to push on. I'm using fear as ammunition, and for people who maybe if fear is holding you back, it's like, think about what is the best possible outcome if you break down that barrier, and it's fucking class. Like,
I know.
do you know?
It's like no story. You hear stories about people, and you'll see stuff pass through WhatsApp. You're like, at this wonder, like, see when something bad happens. See, honestly, a week later. Well, I'm speaking from my experience. See, a week
100%.
later, I've completely forgot about it.
100%.
And the same in sport. See if I have a stinker
tomorrow.
See, next week I get a chance to put it right.
Yeah.
And sport's so fickle, and I sometimes hate sports fans because they're so fickle. But someone will be unbelievable one Saturday, and the next Saturday they're saying about how poor they've been, and I'm like, it racks me a bit, but it just shows you if like you said, you use perspective and be like, well, that's the way people think. Do you know what I mean? The next time you get a chance to put it right, like, don't dwell on it, and don't be afraid of one certain thing, because you'll have loads of chances to put it right. So, I think sport's the best thing in the world, because you learn so much through it without losing too much, if that makes sense. Like, people who don't play sport, I'm like, where do they get their learnings from? And it's probably harsher experiences. Do you know what I mean? Probably things like relationships, which are drinking, or bad choices. Which, see, when you see outside sport, they have far more consequences than inside sport. But when you make them inside sport, it teaches you the same thing. If that makes sense.
100%.
And that's why I love it, and that's why I'm a PE teacher, and that's why, like, I'll always be involved in sport, and I hope my kids are always involved in sport. Now, they might not be, and there's nothing I can do about it, but I would hope that it teaches them all this stuff we've talked about from their no age.
100%. And even that sense of community, and that sense of belonging, and that sense of, like, we've sat here and spoke for, I don't even know, probably nearly an hour, of sitting and to be able to have an open and honest conversation. That doesn't come from anything else but sport.
I know.
And being transparent, and being able to build relationships, being able to be involved with part as a team, like being able to hold your own whenever you go for an interview, all these things that it's taught us, because of communication, because of a sense of belonging, because of leadership, because of what way we carry ourselves, how to deal with setbacks.
And
all stems from sport.
And I've been a bit harsh on Gaelic, but in terms of, I think the AA is the best organisation in the whole world. You know what I mean? I think there's nothing like it. And when I think of St John's, like you said, working as a team, I'm playing football, and then I play Gaelic as well, obviously, and it's hard for me, and like, I'm playing the day after, and I'm not as good as you should be, but there's people like Dougie in St John's, and my mates in St John's, who I couldn't let down. See, if they weren't my mates, I wouldn't be playing, realistically. Because I feel like I'm letting them down if I don't, and you only get that at a GA club, like, you don't get paid, do you know what I mean? It's because it's your club. And there's nothing like it in terms of, like, I know when I stop playing football, you're nowhere near as welcome in a football club as you are as a GA club. I could retire today from playing Gaelic, and every week when I'm at St John's, people would be like, well, what's the crack, how are you? No, like, and your kids go and play there, and then you go up watching them, and you'll stay involved. That doesn't happen in football, like. And that's why I love the GA, because you said it's a sense of community and the team, and building relationships with people. Like, you literally can't beat it all for free. Which is mental.
It's mental. Just to finish up, can you see yourself in an Antrim jersey again?
No, honestly, it's too. I say to the Paddy, and he laughs. It's too hard.
Right.
Too much. I couldn't do it. There's just too much asked of you, I think. And people might say, someone could turn around and go, "That's just you." And I'd be like, right, fair enough. You may think,
and that's okay too.
You may think, but someone might turn and go, he's lazy, mercenary, whatever, right? and fair enough. Couldn't care less, to be honest. But I just think when you weigh it up, I don't think it's worth it.
And what's your goals for soccer then?
Another 10 years.
10 years in the Irish League?
Well, hopefully I say it to Hannah, and she laughs, and she's like, Hannah will probably be saying when I'm 38 or 39, right, you're brutal, pack it in. Like, but I want to play for St John's, and I want to play for whoever it may be in the Irish League for as long as I can. Love it. I'll be so lost without it. And like Sean Ward, you know Sean, he's 39. Gets on like he's 17. Like, and like I admire him so much. He's 39. He's like
We'll need to get him. I actually don't. I've never spoke to him. I know who you're talking about, and you seem to have a very similar outlook.
Well, I've got loads of stuff from him. To be honest, his outlook has changed my outlook, and I'm so glad I'm at him. Probably up there with my favourite ever teammate that I've ever had. Just in terms of his approach, his outlook, and how good he is. But the nick he's in for being 39, and he's a freak, and I'm like, to be at the top of your game in the Irish League at 39, you are some boy, basically. And I would love to be like that. Now, easier said than done, isn't it? And I was like him, and he's a defender, and it's easier to be a defender than it is to just to be a forward and score goals. So maybe not make it to 39, but hopefully, fingers crossed.
Managing someday, coaching or managing? What do you prefer?
Don't know. I like working with people. I do. So maybe I'm a teacher and I'm involved in sports, so the likelihood is I'll go into coach. No, I'm already involved in coaching, obviously with school and stuff. I'll definitely coach or manage in some area, whether capacity, whether it's football. Football's a bit more rigid. You do your badges and stuff. And it's harder to get jobs. GAA, you can start with your under 8s or something. Yeah. You know? And obviously having like we Charlie, we had 4 weeks ago. He'll be playing for St John's, and I don't know if I'd ever manage his team. I think I'd rather let him be his own person than let someone else look after him. And
like your dad on me.
I think that would be my approach. But then, like I said, it could change. But I definitely see myself working, because I love working in sport. You know, it's brilliant seeing kids the way improve and seeing you have an effect on them and seeing how much they look up to you. So I'll definitely do it, because I don't think you can replace. You'll not be able to replace sport in my life. Like I think I'll be gutted the day I retire. I'll be gutted for the rest of my life probably that I'm not playing. Do you know what I mean? But it'll probably soften the blow. Yeah, coaching.
And just last question, I suppose, for like we've covered a lot today, and I hope people have got a lot out of it, and maybe a few nuggets or whatever. But for any young person or maybe anybody at all who, whether it's in sport or life, who like you at 15, 16 years of age, me and you sitting beside each other in casement in the stand, maybe feeling like, is this the right thing to be doing as I'm playing Gaelic, or are we good enough? To then going on and excel in your craft in both hurling, in both soccer and Gaelic, and in your profession. Would you have any advice for anyone who does sort of do not really believing in themselves or believing in their own ability?
I would love to sit here and be like, do X, Y, and Z, because that's what I didn't believe in myself. Do you know what I mean? I was lucky. I think that I had people around me that did, and that pushed me on. But at the same time, just don't get too high or too low. Every day is not going to be good. You're not going to get on every team. You're not going to play well every day. You're going to make loads of mistakes. Just persevere, because seeing it, especially in the beauty of the GAA, there's always a place for you. Even if you're number 29, 30, I know I've played in teams where I value them as much as people starting. So that's the beauty of the GAA. And in football, there's so many levels to it that you make them play at the top level. Like, for example, the top level is obviously England and stuff. I'll never play there, but there's always a level for you where you can enjoy it and you can be better. And in sport, especially, you'll learn so much by just playing. You don't have to be good. You don't have to do anything of note. But you'll learn so much from it, and you'll meet the best thing about it all is you meet so many good people, and like
a bit of crack along the way.
Hannah slays me about our wedding. Hannah slays me about our wedding that I'm trying to invite like 200 odd people, and I'm like, I know, but because I've met so many good people, I couldn't pigeonhole them, and actually, if it cost me a few quid at my wedding, so be it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, that's life. I'm glad I met them, and I love the crack we have, and I wouldn't change it for work.
Thanks very much. And I think the big thing that we didn't really get into there was, I know you touched on it a few times, was the people we surround ourselves with. And I'm very fortunate to have someone like you that when we do see each other, we can have them open and honest conversations and create that transparency. And I'm a big believer in your vibe attracting your tribe. And even though if we're not the best at something, we'll surround ourselves with people who do challenge us and do keep us accountable sometimes, and whenever we do get carried away with ourselves, do knock us down a peg or two, because sometimes that's important.
Do you no harm?
Does us no harm. What do they say? Tap in the back or kicking the arse is only 6 inches or whatever. But no, here, it was brilliant to have you, mate. I know I've been trying to get you on for a while, so no, it was brilliant, and we wish you all the very best going forward. And yeah, Thanks very much, Matthew Fitzpatrick, everybody. And don't forget, we just launched our Patreon this week. So please sign up to www.patreon.com/support Let's Face It Community, I think. Sean will throw the link underneath. And pay what you want. I know there's people out there who are struggling, who maybe don't have the funds to pay for such a service. So if you want to pay £2, or if you want to pay £10, whatever you can afford, but I do think it'll be a very worthwhile service for you, for different to develop different tools. We'll have special guests on every week. There's going to be different seminars and around goal setting and things like that, and all our live events are free to watch on that as well. Our live event from the Culterland in January is on there, so you can go on and watch. And we had people like Conor Mailer and Nat Kelly, Mick Conlon was there, Neil McManus, Kieran May and Stephen Floyd, of course. So there's a lot of nuggets you can take away from that, maybe put into your business or your sport or your school or whatever. So yes, so thanks very much for all the support. Thanks very much to Matthew Fitzpatrick, and I will see you all next week. Thank you.